Red and blue lights flashing across my driveway, SWAT gearing up like it was a terrorist raid. Yet all of it was because of a phone call made by my HOA president. She wanted me arrested in front of the whole neighborhood. What she didn't know was that the person pulling up at exactly 3 o'clock wasn't just any client. It was the governor of the state, and her entire plan was about to collapse. Act 1. The spark of conflict. I should probably back up. Names Daniel Ross, 42, engineer by trade, car guy by passion. 6 months ago, I moved into Willowbrook Estates, a gated community that looks like it came straight out of a glossy magazine, manicured lawns, identical mailboxes, and an HOA president who believed she was queen of the suburbs. That president's name, Karen Blakemore. Blonde bob haircut, yoga clothes that had never seen a gym, and a personality that could weaponize bylaws. She'd been running this neighborhood for 8 years, and everybody knew better than to cross her. Everyone, except me. See, my garage wasn't just for oil changes or tinkering with old Hondas. I had a government contract classified high security. I was retrofitting a black limousine with armor plating, countermeasures, bulletproof glass, the works, the kind of vehicle you build for people whose names end up on ballots or currency. To Karen, though, it was a personal affront. The smell of motor oil lowers property values by 15%. She snapped one afternoon, standing in my driveway with a clipboard like she was inspecting a crime scene. I explained calmly that I had permits, that it was legal, that WD-40 doesn't actually sink home equity. But Karen doesn't hear explanations. She only hears defiance. The next week, she showed up with a man in a suit, Marcus Webb. She introduced him as a city planning observer. He read from a stack of papers like he was a prosecutor. Violation this, zoning that, municipal code whatever. Only problem, I'd spent years working with real zoning boards. His terminology was garbage. He confused R2 residential with R4 mixed use, called ordinances that didn't even exist anymore. He was a fraud, and Karen was using him to intimidate me. Then came her ultimatum. Standing in my driveway with 2 board members as witnesses, she said, 48 hours to clear out that garage or I will shut you down permanently. Delivered like a death sentence. That was the day I realized I wasn't just dealing with an HOA president. I was dealing with someone who thought she could bend the law to her will. Act 2. Escalation and the twist. The pressure came fast. Inspections, anonymous complaints, fire department at my door, environmental reports, all fake, all orchestrated. And while Karen was tightening the screws, her golden boy Marcus kept parroting codes that had been repealed years ago. Meanwhile, my neighbors started looking at me differently. Whispers at the mailbox, parents pulling kids away when I walked by, rumors that I was running some shady chop shop. It stung. I'll admit it, there was a night I sat in that garage, grease on my hands, and thought, maybe she wins, maybe I move, maybe it's not worth dragging my family into this. My wife Emily was tough, my kid Max even tougher, but how much were they supposed to take? And that's when the cavalry arrived. In the form of a 72-year-old retired librarian, Mrs. Patterson knocked on my door, clutching a USB drive like it was a live grenade. She whispered, I recorded last week's emergency HOA meeting. You need to hear this. I plugged it in and there it was. Karen's voice, crystal clear. We need Daniel Ross out of here before he starts asking questions about our casino project funding. If we have to manufacture violations, that's what we'll do. Casino project. Suddenly the puzzle snapped together. I dug deeper, pulling HOA financial records, tracing payments. $200,000 missing diverted to a consulting firm owned by County Commissioner Davidson's wife, a shell company funding a land grab for a casino deal. Karen wasn't trying to protect property values. She was clearing residents out so developers could swoop in. My garage wasn't a nuisance. It was a threat to their scheme. Then came Max, my 12-year-old, obsessed with filming everything. He showed me footage he'd shot from his bedroom window, Karen and Marcus in her BMW, rehearsing lines before confronting me. The audio wasn't perfect, but their body language said it all. They were staging everything. And in that moment, my doubt vanished. I wasn't just fixing cars anymore. I was about to take down a corruption network. Act 3. The showdown. Friday afternoon, Karen called an emergency HOA meeting. 60 residents packed into folding chairs. Her up front in a bright red blazer, clicking through a PowerPoint of my garage like she was testifying before Congress. Mr. Ross is conducting unauthorized business activities in violation of municipal codes. I raised my hand, calmly. Mrs. Blakemore, could you cite the specific section of Virginia law that prohibits automotive work in a private garage? She froze, shuffled papers, then blurted, California Vehicle Code 22651. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. California. We live in Virginia. The cracks in her armor were showing. And then Mrs. Patterson stood up. Clear, commanding voice. Karen, before we discuss zoning, could you explain where the missing $200,000 in HOA fees went? The room went dead silent. Karen's face flushed crimson. That's irrelevant to this meeting, she barked. But the damage was done. People were whispering casino project and embezzlement. Cornered, Karen pulled out her nuclear option. She stormed into the parking lot, phone to her ear, shouting, "This is an emergency. There's a man stockpiling weapons. Possibly a terrorist operation in his garage. Send SWAT immediately." 10 minutes later, my quiet street looked like a war zone. 6 police cruisers, a SWAT van, officers in tactical gear, and behind them, residents filming. Emily live streaming to thousands of viewers. Karen strutted at the end of my driveway like a general commanding troops. That's the garage. Arrest him. You'll find bombs in there. I stepped outside, hands visible, voice steady. Good afternoon, officers. I'll cooperate fully, but I ask for a warrant specifying exactly what you're searching for. The lead officer, Mitchell, gave me a long look, the kind cops give when they know they're being played. But protocol is protocol. The SWAT team stayed ready. And then, at exactly 3 o'clock, the garage door started rising. Slowly, mechanically, out rolled the black limousine, gleaming under the afternoon sun, and stepping from the driver's seat, Governor William Hayes. You could hear the air leave Karen's lungs. The governor brushed dust from his suit, scanned the scene, then said calmly, "Gentlemen, this is a classified state vehicle maintenance facility under Department of Motor Pool Authorization. I trust you're not planning to arrest me for retrieving state property." The SWAT team practically tripped over themselves, lowering weapons. Neighbors gasped. Phones went up. Karen looked like she'd seen a ghost. That's when I handed the governor the folder documents, recordings, financial trails, proof of embezzlement, fake officials, casino deals. He flipped through it with a politician's poker face, then turned to Karen. "Mrs. Blakemore," he said, voice like iron. "Would you care to explain how HOA funds became seed money for Commissioner Davidson's development bribes?" Karen stammered. Nothing came out but air. And then Marcus Webb slinked into view, sweating bullets. "Governor Hayes," he blurted, "I'm ready to cooperate. Davidson orchestrated the whole thing. I have details. Payments, everything. In seconds, the whole house of cards collapsed. FBI swooped on Davidson's office the same day. Webb flipped. Karen was cuffed on my driveway, right where she'd once stood declaring herself untouchable. And me, I just watched as the same neighbors who'd once glared at me now filmed her downfall, their disbelief turning into outrage at her. Wow. Final beat. It ended not with cheers, but with silence. The kind of silence when everyone realizes they've been fooled by a bully in power. Karen Blakemore, the queen of HOA tyranny, shuffled into the back of a cruiser, her empire crumbling live on camera. "Ciao,"